What's up? What's up?
I think I was smarter than the fifth grader.
You think you're smarter than a fifth grader? Right, that's good, man. So these questions have to do with common sense.
Okay.
You know, very easy. So I have 3, and then see if you could get 2 of 3 at least,
Sure.
right? Actually, he does short. I'm sorry? Sure. Yeah, I'm interviewing people. You want to give it a shot? All right, let's go. So 3 very easy questions. They have to do with common sense.
Sure.
So the first one's the hardest, but then they get easier.
No, I just want to see this.
Oh, okay.
Oh God, now I got viewers. All right.
All right, so I mean, you guys can give it a shot too. It's pretty easy, elementary level.
Okay.
So the first one's the hardest, but then they get easier. So I have 2 images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph and one of them's a painting. So I want to see if people can tell the difference.
One was a painting and one was a photograph. This one's a painting?
Okay, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a painting.
I think this is a painting.
Okay.
This one's for sure the painting.
Okay. It's actually a trick question. They're both paintings. It's actually a trick question. They're both paintings. Yeah, so I don't expect people to get this one, obviously, because it's impossible to tell. These are very realistic, right? So, but there is 2 reasons why I asked this question, and it has to do with common sense. The first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, right? Because you believe me that once a photograph, that influenced your choice, right? So it's not good to just believe someone. The second reason is if you want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough, because if I show you an image of me flying or me walking on water, will you believe I could do those things?
No.
No, right? Because if an image defies physics, we got to throw that image away, basically.
Sure.
That's my point. So the next 2 actually has to do with physics, elementary physics. Has to do with water. So could we agree once water is contained, like in this bottle, it always seeks the lowest point? In other words, it always goes down. So if I could turn the bottle upside down, but water always goes down. Yeah, it always does that. I can never get it to stay up there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So since we understand that fact about water, that it always shows us down, you know, I took 2 pictures, one like this, and then one upside down with water in it, and I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see. But since we understand that water always goes down, shows us where down is, how I'm showing you these 2 images, which one is upside down?
That's a good question. You know why? Because I don't believe you now.
No,
I don't know if you put something here.
No,
But if I was to,
yeah,
like,
if you had
I
to
was to
pick,
be rational, and
yeah,
I would
rational,
say which
exactly.
one is upside down.
Which one's upside down, based on how we understand water to behave. If water always goes down, how I'm showing you these, which one is upside down? Which image is upside down? Since we understand water always goes to the bottom or down, which one is upside down?
They're both upside down?
I mean, if you're looking at the water is going to show you which one's upside down.
Is it?
Yeah.
You could have just taken it like the wrong angle.
But that's the thing, even if I took it from a wrong angle, water is always going to level out to the...
Sure, but the surface could also be placed under something that's like above, could be glued to something.
But even if I did glue it, the water is always going to go down, isn't it?
Yeah, so you glue this to the...
So which one's upside down then? Which one's the one that I took upside down?
It's impossible, no. Because you could have tricked...
I mean, if your answer is that is neither, that's fine. Okay, now you turn the right side up. This is the one that was upside down, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I can never get the water to stick to the top of the bottle, so I actually took this one like this, holding it up to the ceiling.
That's what I was saying.
So how I was showing them to you, which one's upside down then? This one. It's the obvious one. You get it, right? Because the physics of water, I cannot manipulate water to stay up.
You're not a waterbender.
Exactly. I'm not a waterbender. Exactly.
I would say this one.
You would think this image is upside down?
Yeah.
Why so?
Because you can inverse an image, right? Say if you take a
No,
picture.
but I'm talking about how I was holding it in reality when I took the picture. Because water is always going to show us the direction of down. I'll tell you which one was upside down, this one. I took it like that. And I'm going to tell you why, because I can never get the water to stick to the top. Again, water is always going to show us the orientation of down. So if I took a picture like this, and I showed you the picture like this, the water's going to show like it was sticking to the side.
Yeah.
But in reality, I took it like that.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So water's always going to show us the direction of down.
Yeah,
Does that make sense to you? Or right?
That's true.
Pretty obvious. So the next one is even easier. So if, this one was a little confusing for you. This one's even... Water always finds its level, right?
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Sure.
What could be another word for level, for example? What's another
Equilibrium.
word? Equilibrium. When we're talking about balance, a good one. Horizontal is actually the proper definition for level, because if we have a straight line at a slope, it's not level.
Right.
So it has to be a horizontal straight line, and that's what level means.
Uh-huh.
So since we understand that fact about water as well, that it always finds its level, which one of these two represents level as we know it, A or B? You don't mind? I'm just gonna change the battery real quick.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, we should. Alright, so we gotta go. We have
You guys
contact
gotta go?
one. Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
Sorry.
You guys take care.
Thank you.
All right.
You still got me for another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Can you reframe your question?
So since we understand water always finds its level,
Uh-huh.
which one of these two represents level as we know it?
It could be both. Oh, as we know it.
As we know it.
Okay, this one.
That's the obvious one, right? Which one represents level as we know it? You know, how we, when we're looking at the water. Very easy. Yeah, it's the obvious answer. You know? We wait for the first to pass. So, the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this. And water shows us that every time.
I thought of a pool instantly.
Yeah,
like, if you
exactly.
think
A
of pool.
lake.
Yeah,
A lake. The water always finds its level. So, for example, so you want to know how we were tricked, or the majority of people were tricked?
Yeah.
Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
It's round. Yes.
Right? That's what they told us. So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit, you know, if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,159 miles. So based on that radius, we get a curvature drop of 8 inches per mile squared. So it drops 8 inches in the first mile, second mile is 32 inches, and by the third mile it should be 6 feet. So that it's a curve, it's not a slope, so it has to increase every mile.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So basically, if we went to a giant lake, you know, that was miles across, to physically measure for this curvature that they're claiming, the water is going to show us that it's going to be perfectly level to anything horizontal above it, so we won't measure any curvature. But they're trying to tell us that the surface of water is bending 8 inches per mile square and increasing. So in 10 miles, there should be 66 feet of curvature. You know, so in my opinion, a physical measurement of the Earth will be number one proof to debunk the globe. You know, a physical. So if I was to ask you, what's the number one proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
I would say this. Oh wait, was number one proof?
That makes you believe that the Earth is a ball.
Honestly, I would probably have to say something like how it orbits the Earth, right? Like if
So-
it was like flat, it would.
What orbits the Earth?
The Earth orbits the sun.
Oh, so because because the movement of the sun,
Yeah.
you think that the Earth is moving instead?
No, because how the Earth evolves around the sun.
Well, that's because that's what we were told. We can clearly observe that the sun appears to move in the sky, right?
Yeah.
But we're told that the sun is stationary, and
Exactly.
so. If I was to ask you, do you have any scientific experiment or something that could be tested that could prove that that's the case, that we're moving instead of the sun, or is it just something you were told and you
No,
just
it's
believe?
like Newton's second law of gravity, right?
Actually, I don't know if you knew, there's actually two theories to gravity. There's Newton's theory of gravity, which is mass attracting mass, and then there's Einsteinian theory of gravity, which debunked Newton's theory of gravity, which has to do with warping and bending of space-time. So they don't say that mass attracts mass anymore. They're saying that mass warps space and time, and then creates gravity. Basically, that's what gravity. So they're changing up the definition of what that is. So orbits and all that, anything that has to do about the sky and outside of the reference frame, which I would call Earth, is all made up. It's just theories, just like a religion. A religion will try to tell you that the heavens are above and the lights are so and so and blah blah blah. That's what the heliocentric model does. They try to tell us what's above and blah 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 blah. The reality is nobody knows what's above. That's the fact. So anybody making claims about what the stars are and how far they are and what they actually are is just a religion.
Oh, there's a lot. I would say first off would be I listen to people who I think are more educated than me in the area.
So you take it on faith, basically.
It's not purely on faith. It's kind of listening. I am actually interested in I've watched I think 2 documentaries on the flat earthers, and I mean obviously both of them had their own biases and whatnot. But I try to look at both points and see.
I would say that a lot of documentaries, flat earth documentaries, especially if they're like in Netflix or somewhere in the mainstream with a lot of views, I would say those are controlled opposition. So either they're controlled debates or they're straight up gatekeepers.
What would make them a controlled? What do you think?
Controlled opposition will be misrepresenting.
No. I'm saying what is motivating them to?
I would say money. Money could be
who would be paying them?
I mean, for first, NASA alone, I'm not saying this is the only motive, but
Sure.
one of the motives is
But
money.
one of them would be
NASA
NASA.
alone gets over $70 million a day
Okay.
from our tax money. You know?
Right.
So they get over 20 billion a year. So they can easily just be lying for money. They don't even have to be in on the lie.
But
You know
what
I'm
would
saying?
be the motivation behind it? What would that achieve if we
Okay,
believe-
why would they lie to us about the shape of the earth, right?
Right.
Yeah, everybody asks that question. So I'm not the one lying, so ultimately I don't know. I can
No,
only
sure.
speculate. So obviously money being one.
Of course.
Two, the dimensions of the earth are actually unknown. So nobody knows how far the earth extends. Because we were lied to about the whole heliocentric model. So outer space is actually just a concept. So the distances to the lights and what the lights in the sky actually are, it's made up.
Mhm.
So the stars, we can zoom into them with an optical zoom camera and show that they're actually in our visible space, which is, if you ask me, way under 1,000 miles. You know, so they are literally close to the sky, you know, the stars. But what are they and how far they actually are, I don't know. You know, but so we would like to not just about the shape of the earth, but the whole outer space concept, basically.
I see, but I still don't understand what's when we believe this. What changes?
So it's again. Oh, I was getting to that. My bad.
Right.
So another reason is to hide a creator, basically. That this. I'm not religious myself. I think all religions are there to control, but the heliocentric model is the number one.
What religion do you believe in?
None. I
No.
go with my religion is reality, physics.
What who are the people that explain reality to you the best?
Nobody has to explain reality to me. It just takes my common sense and understanding
So
what I'm
it's
observing.
you rely on your own. vision.
my own
I see.
intuition and my own common sense and my own.
Okay.
But yeah, so basically, what do all religions have in common? A creation story, and they all tell you what you're supposed to do and what your place is here. The heliocentric model does that with the Big Bang theory, the theory of evolution. So it's just a religion. Nobody knows how this place came to be. That's the fact.
Right.
So anybody claiming to know what this place came to be, you're chasing your tail already.
I see.
You know, the fact is nobody knows. So I think exploring the Earth, how far it extends, could give us a clue, especially at the north. If there's a magnetic, pull in the north that has to do with electromagnetism, then there's something in the north, that we don't know. And I don't know if you knew, but the north is actually very restricted. So there's no independent exploration
Restriction
allowed.
as in who can access it.
Exactly.
Right.
Over, I don't know
Would
if
you
you
mind if I
heard.
take a picture?
Sure, take a picture.
So I have a question for
Yeah.
you now.
Yeah, definitely.
So like now is like your like your purpose of this to like
To
debunk
ba-
religions?
To
Or,
debunk
like,
religions, and the heliocentric model being the number one religion, the biggest religion.
So okay, I mean like as a religious individual, like there's definitely two ways you can kind of like approach this, right?
Okay.
Like there's also like if I'm not the most educated
Right,
in
right.
the religion, right? I'm just like I only know so much. But they also like
you follow it, right?
I follow it. So for every one thing that you're saying in the religion, it can counteract it, right?
Yeah, there's an
then that's-
explanation.
Yeah, and that-
Explanations are not proof.
Yeah, and that's like what like there's always gonna be there, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
at the other angle, like you can have to like analyze it like as like a individual or as like a human, right? Like okay, like what am I living for if I don't think there's not gonna be a heaven in the sky, and why am I like donating charity instead of stealing charity
Exactly.
if there's not that hell in the ground? You know what I mean?
Okay. I would say I would do good deeds just because it makes me feel good to do good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do them just to avoid hell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm not gonna do them just because I don't want to go to hell. I'm gonna do them because it makes me feel good
Yeah.
and to help.
But it
others.
also become like a lot
don't
more
have to
like
follow a book.
specific.
It's
Okay,
my
like for example, like I'm Muslim, right?
Yeah.
Like why would I fast one whole month?
Well, that's
right.
your choice. I would.
Yeah,
say.
I know, but I'm saying like as like my perspective, right? Why would I fast one to please God, right? Like I'm submitting
Well,
myself.
but
to
I would
God.
ask, how did God tell you He wanted you to fast for a month? Did
It
you
says
just read
it,
that
like-
in? You just read it from a book. Right? You
Yeah,
spoke to
yeah,
someone else at work.
Yeah. Okay, and that's what goes back to the first argument, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean,
That's-
I respect it. I like the questions.
I stick with physics when it comes to establishing what Earth is and what this
Yeah,
reality actually
yeah.
is and what our place is in it. I will go with physics and understanding how this reality functions, instead of just believing a book. If I want to understand my reality, I will go with
Okay.
physics, with
Yeah,
natural science. I would say religion, or especially the heliocentric model,
Yeah.
they have to do with concepts and all that, which has to do with formal science. So it's
Yeah.
not natural science.
In my perspective, I would rather go with what God says and what religion says, rather than trying to like come to these like abstract conclusions to myself.
Exactly.
But
That's
I'm
what
not
physics.
Yeah.
Physics is speaking through us through physics. I mean, God is
Exactly.
speaking through us through physics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Understanding how this
Yeah,
creation
yeah, yeah.
works. That's how we're gonna get a better understanding of what this place is.
Okay. I mean, like
So he
I
doesn't
respect
speak.
it.
My
Yeah.
point is he doesn't speak in language. He speaks, I would say, through the physics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Creation.
Cool.
You know,
Well,
alright,
I hope
appreciate
I'm
it. Thank
somewhat smarter than a fifth grader. What's your YouTube? I want to see.
Oh yeah. There you go. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Check
Do you
it
have
out.
like a lot of followers or?
I just started this about a year ago. And one of the reasons I'm actually started doing this is because in 2016 I came across this, but they started censoring like in 2019 and 2018.
Oh, okay.
So what they're doing is, you could just take this, I have a bunch of them.
Okay.
So my channel is the first one on there, Level-Headed William. And
Yeah.
and so they're censoring this by misrepresenting people like me and calling us flat earthers and basically just grouping people and then just dismissing their arguments, right? Or their, you know, but that's why I'm doing this, just to show a method of approach.
Yeah.
And to start the
I mean,
conversation.
you came to like educated place. Like not everyone's gonna agree.
You know, I can't think of a better place to take this to, if you ask me.
Cool. Cool. All right, man.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right. Actually, I have a channel too, because this information is being censored. It's just one of the reasons why I come out here and do this. Because I came across this in 2016, but in 2018, 2019, they started misrepresenting and basically censoring it by ridiculing and dismissing. So nobody's actually debunking this because you can't debunk it. So they're just ridiculing, dismissing, and misrepresenting, and that's how it's being censored. So my channel's the first one on there.
Can I take this?
Yeah, you could take that. Yeah, actually, I think I still have one more. If you want to read this before you know.
Absolutely.
It's a flyer, and these are the 6 main proofs that debunk the globe. Water being number 1. But yeah, here you go. It's my last one. I mean, do you have any questions before you go?
I'm honestly more curious.
Okay, that's good. Most people are not.
Like I told you, I try to look at it from both points.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think there's one version of a truth. It's very complicated.
There's one side of the story, and there's the other side of the story, but then there's the truth, and that's what physics will be, in my opinion. You know.
Okay. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thanks for the chat. All right.